Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and today I have the Razer Blade Stealth. This is the 2018 model here, designed by Razer in California. Now, this is my second Razer laptop, and the reason that I ended up going back to another one is because of just the build quality of this device. Now, I had a Razer Blade, and it was a fantastic laptop. The bezels on the display were a little big for me, but what ended up getting me away from it was wanting to build my own PC, and I ended up just using that a lot more. So I got rid of that laptop. I wasn't editing video on it nearly as much as I thought that I would, and I just found myself not needing that kind of horsepower in a laptop. I wanted something extremely slim and compact, giving me the biggest display I could get for the size of the device, and something that was just extremely mobile. So I ended up going with this laptop because this is the first laptop that Razer has put out that isn't overly a gaming laptop. This is the Gunmetal edition, which I do love the finish. It has the Razer logo on it, but the Razer logo does not light up, so you don't have that green glow with the snake logo. I like the logo, but I just didn't like it illuminating green. So this laptop you can open up with one hand, which for some reason is important when it comes to the world of laptops, and it's just extremely thin and compact. Now, the bag that I carry currently is the Peak Design Everyday Sling, the 10-liter bag, and that will hold a 13-inch laptop, and this laptop just fits in there, so that's fantastic. I've been trying not to carry as many things around with me, and that is a habit. I'm always carrying like a camera and a bunch of accessories and things with me, and I don't ever end up using them. And I end up carrying around a heavy laptop with me that has all sorts of horsepower, and I never end up really using it for that. I use the laptop for maybe Adobe Lightroom for editing some photos. If I do any video editing, it's a very small, lightweight project, which this laptop can definitely handle. So this laptop has the eighth gen i7 chip in it, the quad core. It has a good amount of RAM. I wish it was a little more, but 16 gigs is still pretty good. It has the 1 terabyte solid state in it, and so this laptop has plenty of power for me. It also has just the onboard graphics. It has the chipset graphics, which I believe is the 620 HD 620, which isn't that great, but nonetheless it does accomplish most things well. What it doesn't do a very good job at is gaming, even though this is from a company that makes gaming laptops. Your HD 620 like Intel chipset graphics just isn't going to really cut it. For example, in playing Fortnite, if I'm plugged into power, if I shut everything else down on the computer, I'm really only getting around 20 to 24 frames per second, which just isn't enough for a good gaming experience. It is good enough just to play, and of course, with a laptop that's this small, you can get out and you can get by with that type of performance, but it's definitely something if I'm going to want to get good performance playing any sort of game with this laptop, I'm going to need to get, an external GPU, which I'm actually going to be testing. So you'll want to make sure to subscribe to the channel here because I am going to get a Razer Core, put a 1080 Ti in it, and connect it to this and see what kind of performance we can get out of it there. I do know that the CPU in this, the amount of RAM, it's plenty for gaming and for most of the things that I'm going to do on this laptop. However, if I wanted to do anything more, like maybe edit some video and render it out faster, or if I wanted to get better frame rate and better performance out of Fortnite or any other game that I wanted to play on here, I'm definitely going to need that external GPU. But you can do that on a laptop like this, where a lot of other laptops this size are not giving you the appropriate performance out of your USB-C. You're not getting that full Thunderbolt 3 bandwidth. You're not able to connect and get the performance that you should expect, but you can with this laptop. So the things that I really admire about this laptop, of course, is just the size. I do wish that the bezels were a little smaller, which would afford a little bit larger of a screen. But for the thickness of this laptop, you really can't complain too much there. It is extremely light. The battery life on it is exceptional for a Windows PC. Most Windows PCs can't get battery life that really compares to something like a MacBook. But this does come very close to that. And I'm a person who always has a lot of tabs open in his browser, has an email client open, might have one or two other applications opened as well, and I'm round tripping between those. And with that comes battery drainage, and I can get a lot. I could get hours and hours and hours out of this with multiple applications open without a problem. Where the battery drain does start to become apparent is if I start to use maybe an application like Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop or Premiere, or I jump into maybe a game for a little bit. That's going to drain the battery pretty fast, as it would with any laptop. So the construction of this Razer laptop is something that you definitely have to admire. Most laptops these days are not built like this unless you pay a higher price. Now, Razer does charge a slightly higher price for their laptop, but you're still getting a lot of value out of what you're buying, considering just the craftsmanship here. So Backlit Keys, single color. It doesn't have backlit function keys, so when you go into function mode, the F keys light up, but the actual function itself does not, so you kind of have to remember if you're in a darker situation. But the backlighting of the keys gets very bright. The display also gets very bright. I have no problem using this outdoors. This is the 4K display. I wanted that higher resolution, which causes a little bit of problem when I do go to play a game on it, so I do switch the resolution down to 1080. It's also touchscreen as well, which is nice. Occasionally that comes in handy, but because this isn't like a traditional 2-in-1, or it isn't really a 2-in-1 at all, you can't you can't really hold it in a way that it would feel like a tablet. But that's okay, because that's what we have tablets for. A traditional 2-in-1 would give me that ability, but there's also sacrifices that come with 2-in-1s as well. The speakers are actually surprisingly good. They're not very bassy, but they're very clear. A thing that typically happens with laptops that are really thin is that they either have down-firing speakers that come out the bottom, or speakers that come out and bounce off the display and into your ears, and you end up losing clarity because the sound has to route through and bounce off something. It might be really close to the fans or something else that would make the audio less crisp. The audio that comes out of the speakers here is just really crisp. It's not very bassy, but at least you're getting good, clear, nice highs. The audio sounds good. So even though it's not very bassy, which you couldn't get out of a small laptop like this, you're at least getting good, crisp, clear audio. The trackpad is very nice and responsive. The action is great on it. Part of me wishes it was a little bit bigger, but you really can't complain here. There is some accidental kind of the whatever the term is for touch rejection or palm rejection. Sometimes that doesn't work perfectly on this, like it did on my previous Dell XPS 15 or like a MacBook. But it's still great. There's nothing to complain about there. With this laptop. So let's take a look at the ports. So we have our Thunderbolt 3 USB-C here. We have a full USB-A. We have a headphone jack here, which is dual purpose. You could also put a microphone in there. Then over here we have HDMI and another USB-A. So what's great about having the full HDMI out is, being able to plug it into projectors. I take this laptop for presentations. It's just a great all-around laptop for all those different purposes. Down-firing fans, so in heavy load, this can get a little warm on your legs. I do recommend, because it's down-firing fans, that you might not do any heavy lifting with this laptop when it's on a pillow or on something soft, because it's going to affect the way that the air is able to be pulled through and pushed out of the laptop. So I found a couple, like when I try to use this in bed and I have it sitting on my bed, I can feel the laptop starting to get a little bit warmer, but that's common with a lot of laptops with the way that airflow goes through to cool the laptop. So there are different variations of this laptop. I went with the largest storage because I typically, when I do need to edit video, it's 4K, it's bigger files, and I like to just be able to have those files on the boot drive. Of course, with fast USB connection, plugging in a solid state, you can definitely edit video straight from that. So getting the full 1 TB isn't necessary. It's just something that I wanted to do because I like to future-proof my stuff and make sure that I have plenty of room for any type of project that I wanted to take on. So with that said, this laptop is probably the best thing on the market for the price right now, in my opinion. Yes, there are ways that I wish it performed a little bit better, but for the size of this laptop, the battery life you get out of it, the features that it does have, I can't complain there at all. It is an extremely well put together device for its size and for its price. So I've got some links down in the description below for you. I mentioned the bag that I've been carrying it in. You might want to check that out. I mentioned that there are different versions of this laptop you can get. You could buy it on Amazon. You could buy it directly from Razer. I bought mine directly from Razer, but I think that you do get a better return policy if you order it from somewhere like Amazon or maybe even Best Buy. So you might want to check that out. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me down in the comment section below. I'll have some photos and some additional stuff over on stateoftech.net, so there'll be a link down in the description for that as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from us, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we hope to see you back here soon. Take care.